Well, I think the similarities were their leadership skills. They both made guys better. They both made their teammates better. They both cared about nothing but winning. They didn't care about individual stats and MVP trophies and none of that stuff. They cared about winning. They both had incredible basketball IQs. They both were unbelievable on the court as far as seeing the game and making passes that you just didn't see. Neither one could jump very high.
And then you had all your media naysayers. Oh, scoring champion can't win an NBA title. Well, you're not as good as Magic Johnson. You're not as good as Larry Bird. You're good, but you're not as good as those guys. I had to listen to all this, and that put so much wood on that fire that it kept me each and every day trying to get better as a basketball player.
I'll go first. Get back here and be quiet. Hold this for me. Okay. I'm busy. Lifetime Achievement Award. That means you've been around a long time. In Magic's case, probably a little too long.
Before Michael Jordan took flight and before LeBron James picked up the crown, the NBA was defined by two names, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Their rivalry was more than just the biggest storyline of the 1980s. It was the force that pushed the league into a new era. It was East versus West, Showtime flair versus blue-collar toughness. Magic brought flash, creativity, and charisma, while Bird brought intensity, fundamentals, and relentless competitiveness. Yet both delivered results. They weren't just individually great. Together, they elevated the entire league. They battled for championships, traded MVP awards, and turned every Celtics-Lakers matchup into must-watch television. Everyone watching, whether a teammate, an opponent, or a fan, had to pick a side. The rivalry wasn't just between two players, it was a clash between franchises, fan bases, and basketball philosophies, colliding year after year with real stakes on the line. Magic and Bird met in the finals repeatedly, at the moments when everything mattered most. Their battles were never about hype or sensational storylines. They were about execution, pride, and proving who could lead their team to the top under the brightest spotlight. Today, the conversation shifts to the legends who witnessed it firsthand. Hall of Famers, former champions, defenders who tried to slow them down, and modern stars who studied their games. Who gets the edge? Who left the bigger impact? Let's hear from those who lived it. Before the Magic-Bird rivalry took full control of the league, Pete Maravich, one of the most creative and skillful guards the NBA had seen, had already recognized rare talent. Pistol Pete had an eye for players who didn't need elite athleticism to dominate. That's exactly how he viewed Larry Bird.
Well, gee whiz, Larry Bird, I think is the best. Larry's not really the best rebounder in the NBA. He's not the best passer, I don't think. He's not the best dribbler. He's not the best shooter. He's not the best scorer. He's just the very best.
For Maravich, Bird's greatness wasn't about leading every statistical category. It was about the way everything in his game worked together. Larry might not have been the best in any single skill on paper, but when you watched him, the outcome rarely changed. He controlled the game. It wasn't just about scoring, passing, or rebounding. Bird dictated tempo, manipulated defenses, and elevated his teammates without needing elite athleticism or constant ball dominance. He played with intelligence, awareness, and precision, outthinking opponents as much as outplaying them. For a basketball purist like Pete Maravich, that was the true mark of greatness, and it's what set Bird apart. Chris Webber, who played alongside and against some of the most skilled big men and guards in NBA history, understood the value of vision and basketball IQ. As a big man with exceptional passing ability himself, Webber always respected players who could see the floor one step ahead. So when he's asked who he would choose to start a team with, especially at the point guard position, he doesn't just look for a high scorer or a flashy highlight machine. He chooses the kind of player who can lead, adapt, and make whatever plays are necessary to win.
For me, it's the fact of what you guys just brought up, who wants to play with other people on the team. And when I think of Magic Johnson, if I'm starting my team with the point guard that sat in the captain's chair and played center in every position in the game in the championship, there's no way I'm going against Magic.
Webber is referring to the 1980 NBA Finals, the moment that defined Magic Johnson's legacy before it had even begun. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was injured, and a rookie Magic stepped into the lineup and played every position on the court. He scored 42 points, pulled down 15 rebounds, and ran the offense with the poise of a seasoned veteran. That performance left a mark on the league, and to Webber, it showcased the kind of versatility that separates Magic from everyone else. And it wasn't just a one-time explosion. Magic carried that same confidence and control throughout his entire career. Whether he was setting up a Hall of Famer or a bench role player, he ensured everyone felt involved. His leadership was rooted in unselfishness, and Webber sees that as the foundation of real team success. To him, Magic checks every box you'd want in a franchise cornerstone: skilled, adaptable, unselfish, and a true winner. Reggie Miller, one of the most respected shooters in NBA history, brings his own perspective to the Magic versus Bird debate. Known for his toughness, confidence, and high basketball IQ, Reggie recognizes greatness when he sees it. And when asked to choose between the two, he didn't hesitate. He picked the player he believes would be even more dominant in today's style of basketball.
Oh, I gotta go with Larry Joe. In today's rules, you can't touch him.
Yeah.
And Larry, so this is 27, 28-year-old Larry and 27, 28-year-old LeBron,
Yeah.
right? Or is he 30 now, right? 30.
Yeah.
So 30-year-old Larry, 30-year-old LeBron.
Before Michael Jordan took flight and before LeBron James picked up the crown, the NBA belonged to two names, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Their rivalry defined the 1980s and propelled the league into a new era, East versus West, Showtime versus blue-collar grit. One brought flash and flair, the other brought fire and fundamentals. Together they weren't just great individually, they raised the bar for everyone. They battled for titles, traded MVPs, and turned every Celtics, Lakers matchup into must-watch television. Fans, teammates, and opponents all felt the pressure to choose a side, because this rivalry was bigger than two players. It was two franchises, styles, and entire fanbases colliding with real stakes on the line. Magic and Bird didn't exist only in highlight clips, they met in the finals repeatedly when everything mattered most. Those matchups were never about hype for its own sake. They were about pride, execution, and proving who could lead a team to the top under the most intense pressure. Today, we turn the mic to the legends who lived through it. Hall of Famers, former champions, those who guarded them, and modern stars who grew up studying their games, to ask, who gets the edge, and who left the bigger impact? Before the Magic-Bird rivalry fully consumed the league, Pete Maravich was already regarded as one of the most creative and skilled guards the NBA had seen, a true showman. Pistol Pete had an eye for players who changed winning without being the fastest or most athletic on the floor. That's exactly how he viewed Larry Bird. For Maravich, Bird's greatness wasn't about topping every statistical category, it was about how all the pieces fit together. Bird might not have been number one in any single skill, but when he played the result was consistent: control, intelligence, and winning. Larry Bird's impact wasn't measured only in numbers or highlight plays. He controlled the flow of a game without needing to dominate the ball or rely on pure athleticism. He made teammates better, prided himself on outthinking opponents, and used fundamentals and craft to win. For a basketball purist like Pete Maravich, that cerebral, efficient style is what set Bird apart from the rest. Chris Webber has played alongside and against some of the league's most talented players. As a high IQ big man and an excellent passer, Webber values players who can see the game a step ahead. When asked who he'd start a team with, especially at point guard, he looks past obvious scoring names and chooses the player who can lead, adapt, and do whatever the team needs to win. Webber points to the 1980 finals as a defining moment. A rookie Magic stepped in for an injured Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and essentially played every position. Magic's performance, 42 points, 15 rebounds, and commanding the offense like a seasoned veteran, left a lasting mark on the league. To Webber, that kind of versatility separates Magic from other stars. It wasn't a one-off. Magic played with the same poise and unselfish confidence throughout his career, making everyone around him better. For Webber, Magic checks every box you'd want in a franchise cornerstone. Reggie Miller, one of the most respected shooters in NBA history, brings a different lens. Tough, confident, and fiercely analytical, Miller doesn't hesitate in the Magic versus Bird debate. He's even done the mental matchup against modern defenders and believes Larry Bird would be even deadlier today. Bird already shot, passed, and rebounded at elite levels. Remove the era's physical hand-checking and you give Bird more room to operate. When a shooter of Reggie's caliber says Bird would dominate in today's game, that assessment carries real weight. What stands out in Reggie's take is the conviction, not nostalgia. He isn't simply romanticizing the past. He's measuring Bird against modern conditions and giving him the edge. That kind of endorsement matters, because it comes from someone who knows what it takes to be elite. Lou Williams, who played 17 seasons and earned respect for his scoring, poise, and basketball IQ, offers yet another perspective. Williams tends to step back and evaluate the full picture. Not just what happened on the court, but the effects that followed. When he weighs in on the Magic-Bird conversation, he considers both on-court performance and the broader influence each player had on teammates, opponents, and the evolution of the game.
Listen, I can buy that, especially like Magic Johnson is still a champion to this day. He's still impacting winning with the Los Angeles Dodgers, what he's been able to add to the Washington Commanders. Like, wherever this guy goes, he wins, and he changes culture. So I'm buying that. Everything that Magic Johnson has been able to do on the court, off the court, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, all wins across the board, I'm buying it.
For Williams, Magic's influence stretches far beyond his on-court achievements. He sees Magic as the complete leader, someone who didn't just win games, but built winning environments, set cultural standards, and carried that same energy into ownership and business. That type of leadership doesn't disappear after retirement. It continues to show itself in every room Magic walks into. This is what makes Williams' perspective different. He isn't only comparing basketball skills, he's measuring long-term impact. Magic's ability to step into an organization and shift its direction, whether with the Lakers, the Dodgers, or even in NFL ownership conversations, speaks to something larger. Success followed him, not just as a player, but as a presence. That kind of influence matters just as much as points, assists, or highlight plays. Joe Dumars, a core member of the Bad Boy Pistons, knows what it means to compete against the very best. His team battled with the Celtics in some of the most physical and intense playoff matchups of the era. And even though those games were filled with rivalry, toughness, and real animosity, Dumars never hesitated when it came to acknowledging Larry Bird's greatness. He respected what Bird brought to the floor: skill, intelligence, competitiveness, and the ability to deliver when everything was on the line.
I said, yeah, all of that. I said, but please let's not forget how incredible Bird and the Celtics were in their prime. I said, they were almost impossible to go in there and beat. And they said, why? I said, because you could not make a mistake with them. If you turn your head or you don't rotate right on time or whatever it was, those guys made you play. And it was him. Like he was a savant on the court, like just a savant, like 2 plays ahead on everything.